If I could pick out one thing that was probably the most difficult to train my dachshund, it would be toilet training. I'm going to tell you all my top biggest tips that helped me master toilet training in my miniature dachshund. I'm going to break down the best top tips that actually work, how long it takes, and how you can get your dachshund toilet trained as quickly as possible. So first of all, it's good to know that dachshunds are notoriously stubborn and definitely on the slower end to toilet train. Some can actually take 6 to 12 months to get it, which I know seems crazy. Yeah, first of all, let me just tell you, it's not your fault, but you do need to be consistent and stay proactive with it. I first got Mabel and she was a puppy. We were living in an apartment building, which just made toilet training 10 times harder. Obviously, I didn't just have doors and a back garden that I could open the doors, let her go out and just get her into the habit of going outside and going to the toilet. I literally would have to take her down every 30 minutes, every half an hour, up and down the lift. We were literally on the 29th floor. So yeah, it was very difficult to toilet train. If you get your puppy at 8 weeks old, obviously they actually can't go outside until they've had their second vaccine, which is at 12 weeks. So the first 4 weeks of you having them, you literally can't take them on a walk, they can't go outside unless you're obviously in a private garden, which in my instance we weren't. We were obviously in an apartment building, so the outside space that we had was obviously a shared outdoor communal area, which obviously hundreds of dogs were going in and out of every day, which, as Mabel hadn't had her vaccine yet, was not safe for her to go out. It's strongly advised that you keep your dog inside until they've had that second vaccine. So if you're in an apartment, I would suggest puppy pads. You can also get AstroTurf, which is basically like a patch of astro fake grass. This is actually a really good way of them getting used to going outside. Obviously in our communal area, in the apartment that we lived in, it was fake astro grass. I didn't actually try this, but I wish I did, because once I'd obviously used the puppy pads, realised how much easier this would have been, because the amount of puppy pads that I went through was literally ridiculous. The thing with puppy pads though is they can actually be quite confusing. Obviously your dog is still going to the toilet inside, even though it is on a mat, it can be quite confusing for them. So when I was stuck in an apartment, couldn't take Mabel outside until she'd had her second vaccine, I was obviously teaching her and training her to go to the toilet on puppy pads. Now, every time she went to the toilet on the puppy pad, I would reward her only with my voice. Now, it is recommended to use treats to do this because obviously they'll learn quicker when they get a high value reward. But I actually saved the treats for when I took her outside, when she was allowed to go outside, and whenever she went to the toilet outside. This actually made her learn so much quicker. So yeah, every time she goes to the toilet on the puppy pad, I would reward with my voice. It can be whatever. I'd make sure that you use the same phrase every single time so they get used to that phrase every time they go to the toilet there. Obviously, they are going to have accidents. The amount of accidents that Mabel had when we were stuck in the apartment for that first month was a lot. So don't get too stressed out if obviously that is happening. It is kind of expected, and you're kind of going to have to expect that to happen, especially if you are in an apartment like I was. It does make it a lot more difficult. With dachshunds, the best way for them to learn is through positive reinforcement. So this means that if they obviously have an accident, the worst thing that you can do is shout at them or raise your voice at them. This is not going to do anything. If anything, it'll probably make the situation 10 times worse, and they're just going to become anxious around the whole going to the toilet, and they're just going to have more accidents. If you do see an accident, say if they've gone to the toilet on the floor somewhere, or where they shouldn't have gone and not on a puppy pad, literally just clean it up. Don't say anything, ignore them, clean it up, and just kind of act like it never happened. And then obviously when they do go to the toilet on the puppy pad, this is where you need to reward them with your voice and just praise them, and obviously make a big massive fuss about them going, and then they will associate that with obviously going to the toilet on the puppy pad. Okay, so fast forward to 12 weeks, actually 13 weeks, because once Mabel had her 12-week vaccine, she had to wait a week for that to kind of settle in before she could go outside. But once Mabel was able to go outside and go into the big wide world and obviously use the toilet outside, was one of the happiest days of my life, because it just made things so much easier. And this is where I would reward her with treats. So as I mentioned before, I only rewarded her with my voice inside, and then implemented the treats when she would go outside. And this actually, she learnt so much quicker, because she knew that every time she went outside, went to the toilet, she'd get a treat. And I'd also use like cheese, high value treats such as cheese or chicken, and literally she learned so quickly. But I would suggest, if you, say if you're not in an apartment and you have a private garden, which you know that no other dogs have been in, I would strongly just recommend toilet training them outside straight away. Every time they need the toilet, the main times that they will need to go to the toilet, probably 5 to 10 minutes after they've just eaten, take them outside straight away. If they've woken up from a nap, as soon as they've woken up, pick them up, take them outside, because they all definitely need the toilet straight away. What I would do with Mabel, and I was up and down the lift quite a lot, but I literally would take her to the toilet every 30 minutes, and you'd be surprised and not think that they won't need to go that often, but when they are puppies, they have such a small bladder, and they actually do. And yeah, it is just a lot of training and repetition, positive reinforcements, going over the same thing over and over again. Eventually, the more and more they go to the toilet, you reward them with treats. Yeah, the more it just gets drilled into their head, and they start to kind of learn and understand, and they're like, oh, they'll associate with going to the toilet as they get a reward or a treat. So yeah, that would be my top tip for toilet training your dog quickly. You have to be quite sneaky with the whole positive reinforcements and the treats. I did feel quite bad though, because I wasn't really giving her many treats in her first month that she was there, but it did mean that she learned toilet training a lot quicker, which was ideal, very ideal. So some signals to look out for when your dog needs a toilet, obviously I mentioned before, straight after food, straight after a nap. One key thing to look out for is sniffing, especially circling. If Mabel needed a number 2, I could just tell when she needed the toilet, like she'd sniff around everywhere, and then she'd start like circling. That is them trying to find their spot to go to the toilet. If you notice them doing this, take them outside straight away, or move them over to a puppy pad, direct them over to the puppy pad if you are training them inside before they've had the vaccine. Okay, so you also want a verbal cue or command to link to obviously when they go to the toilet. This could be wee-wees, toilet time, go potty, anything you want. I, for some reason, use toilet time. So now every time Mabel goes outside and she needs a toilet, I'm literally like, toilet time, toilet time, toilet time. Honestly, my neighbours must get so sick of me. I kind of wish I just used like wee-wees or something straightforward, not toilet time. Make sure you're very careful with what you're using in that instance, because yeah, I really didn't think, and I kind of just got into the habit of saying toilet time, and now she associates going to the toilet with toilet time. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's a bit of a mouthful to say every single time she needs a toilet. But yeah, other key tips I would say is consistency and routine is key. I know taking them outside every half an hour to an hour can seem like a lot, but you won't have to do it for too long. I'd probably say Mabel was toilet trained on the puppy pads, I would say within 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks actually. She's still a puppy and she was still prone to having accidents, but she wasn't fully toilet trained until about 16 weeks. Obviously she wasn't allowed to go outside until 13 weeks, a week after she'd had her second vaccine. But at 16 weeks, so I'd say 3 weeks of the outside world toilet training, she was fully toilet trained by then. Obviously you can do this a lot quicker. Like I said earlier on, if we were in a house with a garden, I probably could have toilet trained her a lot sooner than 16 weeks. But I just had that like month delay of her being inside and having to use the puppy pads, so it kind of just made things a lot longer. Not that there's anything wrong with being in an apartment. I managed it, it's definitely manageable, but now being in a house with a garden, it would have been so much easier to have just opened the back doors and taken her outside. Yeah, at the time we managed obviously with what we had. But yeah, if you are going through this issue with your dachshund, whether you've got a new puppy, whether your dog is 6 months plus and they still have not cracked toilet training, please feel free to leave your struggles in the comments. Yeah, it'd be great to hear other people's stories, and also if you've got any other tips and advice that I have missed out, please don't forget to leave that in the comments for other people. I do run a dachshund community where we obviously discuss topics like this in more detail. If you would like to be a part of that, then I will leave the link. It's the first link in the description. It's called The Silly Sausages, named after my silly sausage Miss Mabes, isn't it? Oh, she's licking me. You know, when a dog licks you, it means that they are telling you that they love you. How cute is that? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I love you so much, Miss Mabel, I love you so much. But yes, if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you would like to learn more advice on how to train your dachshund. I do actually have a playlist here on YouTube, here on my channel, all about how to train your miniature dachshund puppy, and yeah, just all the tips and tricks. Yeah, I'm no expert, but I can obviously give you my help and advice through my experience, as I have gone through all of that myself with Mabel. Mabel, say bye! Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video.